Today, Lori, we're going to introduce our new Kinnikinnick Panko style breadcrumbs.
So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn on our oil and make sure that we get it up to temperature.
If you have a deep fryer, definitely use a deep fryer.
Yes.
So you can maintain a consistent temperature. Whenever you're cooking at home with an oil on the stove top, you always have to be cautious about the temperature because you don't want to flare up or you don't want to have any issues like that. So you got to be very careful to use a thermometer and make sure it's consistent temperature.
Right.
Okay?
We're going to bring this up to around 300 degrees Fahrenheit, which is around 150 degrees Celsius.
Okay, so we're going to start off with making some fries out of yams. I'm going to peel the yam.
Yep. Okay. So I'm just going to take some of our all-purpose celiac flour. And this really, there isn't a ratio. You just want to make a paste to stick to the fries. So all-purpose celiac flour and just a little bit of water. So this is the consistency for the all-purpose celiac flour and the water that you want to see, and it's just a slight paste.
So I got my yam fries cut here, so
Okay.
I'll pass those over to you. And you can start maybe working on those, and while you're doing that, I'm going to cut the onion.
Okay.
So when I cut the onion, I'm going to cut it into about quarter-inch slices so you get a nice uniform onion ring throughout the whole process.
Right.
Now, what type of onion am I using here?
You are using just a white onion, but you could use any type of onion you wanted. And the one thing with the all-purpose celiac flour, you want to make sure that you're not coating too heavy, that it's just a thin coating. And this is just to help the panko style breadcrumbs stick to it when we're putting it in the fryer. Okay, and one thing to keep in mind, because this is very pasty, use your other hand for rolling your breadcrumbs.
So you got to be a little ambidextrous to be doing this. Otherwise, you got to wash your hands kind of frequently throughout the process.
Yeah, or you're going to have to keep replacing your panko breadcrumbs. And if you're worried about that, just use a smaller bowl.
Now, you know what I would do is I would take my, I would convince my 5-year-old son to get involved, and he would probably love
Getting his hands dirty?
rolling those in there.
Yeah.
Now, panko is a Japanese term that's used to describe a breadcrumb that has a coarser, more uniform texture that really holds its crispiness throughout cooking.
Okay, so our oil is at temperature, and need to be around 250 to 300.
Okay.
The reason why is because as soon as we put something in, the temperature is going to increase very quickly and then drop drastically.
Right.
Okay.
So we're going to do the yam fries. We'll do a few of those.
Yep.
Nice. Look at that, bubbly. They'll start to float a little bit.
Yep. And they take about 1.5 to 2 minutes. They're fairly quick. So, and if you're not sure on your oil, always start with a couple first.
Yep.
And check and make sure that they're done, and then you know your temperature for your oil is consistent for what you need for what you're using it for.
Right.
Okay.
Now, one thing too, we're going to be doing, because we have a small pot, we're going to be doing small batches kind of frequently.
Right.
So a nice thing to do is take them out, put them on a baking sheet into your oven at a low temperature to keep them warm.
You could, yeah. That would be a good way if you're going to serve them right away.
Yeah.
So it's been in for 1.5 minutes, so we're just going to pull them out and move them to our plate. The other thing that you can do is just put them on paper towel just to absorb the extra grease.
The temperature, the temperature on the oil has actually stayed pretty consistent, which is nice. If you put a lot of fries in there at once, it will drop, but this way you can kind of keep going at a regular pace.
Right.
Those look great. I'd bite into that right now, but I think it's a little bit too hot.
And the onion rings take about 1.5 minutes too, and they're just getting that nice golden color.
Yep.
And if you're never sure if they're done, if you're worried about the temperature, you can always do a couple to start off with and then just cut it down the center and make sure that the vegetable is cooked. And the nice thing about the panko style is the coating stays on the product.
Yeah, there's very little residue in the pot.
So if you have time restraint and you're having company over, you could always prepare the vegetables ahead of time and coat them in the all-purpose celiac flour,
Yep.
dredging that we're doing, and then in the panko style breadcrumbs,
Yep.
and get them all ready on a pan. You could keep them in the fridge and then put them in the fryer before your company's coming.
Okay.
The other thing that you could do is if you're really short for time and you want to fry them ahead of time, you could do that and then just warm them in the toaster oven afterwards, and it would still have that deep fried crispy texture.
Doesn't get soggy.
Does not get
That's the beauty
soggy.
of the panko breadcrumb that we've made, is it's so unique that it does not get soggy the next day or even a little later after. Well, I can't wait to dig into these. All I need is a nice steak or something to go with it.
So our fries are just finishing up, our sweet potato fries.
Yep.
So we're going to do our shrimp now. And we always do all of our vegetables first, and then we're going to do our meat secondly.
Right.
Okay?
I'll keep an eye on these while you get those little guys ready.
Sounds good. So I have deveined shrimp, and I've left the tails on just for presentation. And we're just going to coat them.
Again, these are another item that you could easily prep in advance.
And with the shrimp, they take about 2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes.
To cook. They do take a little bit longer than the vegetables. And as I was saying earlier, if you wanted to make a spicy panko, you could add cayenne pepper to it, or you could add a little bit of garlic. Cajun spice would be good.
You could do lemon pepper shrimp.
Yeah.
Could you put some coconut in there?
Yeah, you could for sure if you wanted to do coconut shrimp. That would be really good.
I think these guys are ready to go, so I'm going to take them out.
Okay.
Now, one thing I noticed is that you currently have cooked shrimp that you're using here. You could use a raw shrimp.
Yeah.
Wouldn't take much longer to cook because these guys cook pretty fast.
Yeah, it would probably take about 3 minutes. You just have to watch the temperature a little bit more if you were using raw shrimp, because the panko would get darker faster than what the shrimp is cooking.
Right.
So our temperature is up to 275 right now. So
Yep.
we can start putting some of those shrimp in.
Okay.
So if you want to put 4 or 5 in at a time,
Okay.
and I will just finish coating them.
Now you can make, I mean, we're doing shrimp here today, but you could also do fish sticks. You could do, your famous fish and chips. Scallops would be a nice thing, maybe.
Scallops would be really good. And because we're using cooked shrimp today, we don't have to worry so much about cooking the shrimp. We're just making sure that the coating is nice and coated.
Yep. Nice thing too is the little tails give you something to hold on to.
Yep. And presentation.
Yep. Okay. All right. Now I think these are done.
Look
at that.
perfect.
Yeah, those are great. They're not going to last too long around here. And we'll keep going.
Sounds good.